Hey everybody, it's your girl Nell. It is Monday, August the 4th, 2025, and today is the birthday of the great Satchmo, Louis Armstrong. Yes, 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 yes. Oh my God. One of the founders of what we know today as jazz. Yes. Satchmo. Today is the late, great Satchmo Louis Armstrong's birthday. Head over to the Louis Armstrong House Museum website. They have some great information over there, plus his biography. So here is a tipping of the locks to the great, late, great Satchmo. Today's video is a dreadlock love video, baby. You know what time it is. It's that time we talk about all things dreadlock love, care, support, and maintenance. Everything. So, welcome to today's episode. Please do not forget to hit the like button and the subscribe button. So listen, this is a video that I'm piggybacking off of another young sister on YouTube. I'm going to put the link to her channel in the description box because I don't want to continue to jack up her name. I filmed 2 other videos before this one, and I just jacked her name up. So I'm just going to put the link to her video in the description box so you can watch her video and get her viewpoint. But I have noticed that there's something going on in the lock community, and I wanted to talk about it. But this young sister, she really she hit on some points about the discussion I would like to have with you today. And I thought that it was just me, that it was something that I had noticed, and I was just being ultra sensitive about it. But when she brought it up, I realized that yes, this has become a thing. And what is that? I have noticed that a lot of you Locknista kings and queens are cutting your locks. And you could be cutting them for a number of reasons. You could be cutting them because simply the journey is over for you. You could be cutting them because they're not aesthetically pleasing to you. You could be cutting them because you're disenchanted with the dreadlock journey. You could be cutting them away because there's something that could have happened in your care and maintenance of your locks that has gone awry, and so you want to cut them away and perhaps start over. Those are just some of the reasons that you could have or that many have for cutting away their locks. But one of the things that I have noticed is that there seems to be a thing where people are cutting, lock kings and queens are cutting their locks for purposes that would say to me that they were not really serious about the lock journey, that they did not really have all the information that they needed to really start the lock journey, or that perhaps they really did not fully understand the responsibility that it takes to wear locks, a crown of locks. And that's what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about this thing of cutting away the locks. And I want to talk about how important it is to understand the journey before you begin. Now, in the groups that I am in on social media, one of the biggest reasons that people cut away their locks is because of unmet expectations. What does that mean? Now, what does that mean? Well, it means that when a lot of us are starting our locks, we are believing or thinking that our locks are going to look a certain way. And as our locks begin to grow, we realize that the picture in our mind that we had of how we wanted our locks to look is not exactly what nature has intended or manifested for us. Okay? Now, this comes from lock envy. And I've talked a lot about lock envy on this show, on this channel. What is lock envy? Lock envy is when you see someone with a beautiful set of locks that you just absolutely adore and love, and you say, I want that too. Okay? And so you decide to start locks thinking that your locks are going to look just like the person's locks that you admire. Okay? And what you realize is that no, your locks will not look like, sorry about that. Your locks will not look like Lenny Kravitz's locks. Your locks will not look like Lisa Bonet's locks, Cree Summers' locks when she had locks. Who else? Your locks are not going to look like Nail's locks. And the thing is that the reason why lock envy can be a problem is because all of our hair types are different and unique unto us. The way my hair grows, the genetic makeup of my hair strands are unique, are totally different from your hair strands, from your DNA, your genetic makeup. So your locks are not going to look like Nails. My locks aren't going to look like Lenny Kravitz's locks. None of our locks are going to look like Lisa Bonet's locks. It's just not. Okay? Our locks are unique to our bodies, to ourselves. And when we fail to realize that there is no way that we can copy someone else's locks or replicate someone else's locks, then when we fail to realize that, it sets up this thing or window of expectations that cannot be met in any way. I love when I look at pictures of Bob Marley. His locks, to me, are the quintessential locks. But I'm not Bob Marley's daughter. So my locks are not going to look like Bob Marley's locks. My locks are not going to look like Rita Marley's locks. I am not connected to them in any way genetically. I do not have their DNA. So my locks are not going to look like their locks. My locks are going to look like Nail's locks. Even so, my little brother has locks. Okay? Simeon has a beautiful, beautiful set of locks. He's been growing his locks now, I want to say for maybe 4 years. And his locks are gorgeous. But even his locks, my little brother's locks, do not look like my locks. Okay? His lock is entirely different than my locks because his hair texture is different. You know what I'm saying? His hair texture is different. So, of course, his locks are going to look different from my locks. And we're siblings. So, lock envy can put you in a position where you expect certain things or you expect a certain aesthetic from your locks, but it is a expectation that will never be met. So because of this, a lot of people are cutting their locks. Another reason why I see a lot of people cutting their locks is because they're not happy with the size of their locks. Okay, so my locks are, just regular. They're not small and they're not fat. They're just somewhere in the middle. And that's something that I like. I love about my locks. Now, there are people who say that their locks are too small or their locks are too fat or their locks are not spaced correctly. And so as the locks grow out, some people don't like the way it looks. They don't like the way the grid looks in their head. And so they decide to cut them off. Okay. Now, here's the thing, that I have to say is that this comes from lack of research before you start your locks. This comes from not having a real conversation with the person who is starting your locks or your loctician. And this also comes from not speaking up. Because when you are starting your locks, you should be able to have a conversation with your loctician to let them know exactly what you want, how you want your locks to look, how you want your locks to present themselves to the world as they begin to grow out. If you don't have this conversation with your loctician, if you do not already know how or what your hair pattern is and the texture of it and how it grows, then yes, you will be definitely disenchanted with how your locks begin to develop. You most definitely will. So the thing is that a lot of people are not doing their research. To me, that's what it all comes down to. Do your research. Do your due diligence before you start a set of locks. Because aesthetically, it becomes very important to you, to how you present yourself to the world. For me, locks are energizing. This is the full package for me. When I envision myself with locks, this is the person that I saw. And it's so important to be able to match what you see in the mirror to who you see in your mind's eye, your third eye, who you are on the inside. So yes, it can be very disconcerting if the person that you are on the inside is not reflected in the mirror. It's not the person on the outside. So that's why it's really important to know how you want your locks to look, how you want them to be presented, and to be able to convey that to your loctician. And don't be afraid to tell your loctician when the locks are done. Do not be afraid to say what needs to be said. If the lock grid that you see on your head, if the starter locks are too fat, okay, if the spacing is not right, do not hesitate to say something immediately, because it's not going to get better. It's going to continue to get worse. You have to speak up. You have to speak up. Another thing that I have seen in a lot of Facebook groups, and that's on the lines of aesthetics, is that a lot of you locked kings and queens, when you started your journey, you started the journey because you thought of locks as a hairstyle instead of a lifestyle. When something is just a hairstyle, you feel as if, well, hey, if this goes wrong, I can just get rid of it. Or if this is not right today, all I have to do is plait it up and put a weave on top of it or a wig and go on about my day. A lot of you jumped on the dreadlock trend maybe during COVID. So now you are 5 years in and you realize this is not for you. There have been stumbling blocks along the way. There's certain things have happened along your lock journey because of the fact that you went into this believing that this was some type of trend, that this was just a hairstyle, when locks are not a hairstyle. Locks are a lifestyle. And because you went into it, because you saw your favorite celebrity with locks, and you went into it because you wanted to look like them, now you're at the point where you don't want to do this anymore, and they're not doing it anymore. So now you don't see the purpose in you wearing locks anymore. And that's why you're cutting them off. And to that, I have to say to anyone who is thinking about growing locks, know your purpose. Why are you doing this? Are you deciding to wear locks because you saw somebody else with a nice set of locks and you want to be like them? Or are you wearing locks because this is your journey? Because you know this is your lifestyle. This is who you are. As I said before, when I first decided that I wanted to be a Locknista queen, it was way back in the 70s. When I first saw, my dad first brought a Bob Marley and the Wailers album into our home. That was the first time I knew I wanted to be a lock queen. And then as time went on in my 20s, I really had that inclination. The way you see me today is the way I saw myself 30 something years ago. And I knew that when I embarked on this journey, that it was going to be a lifestyle, not something that I would wear for a year or 2 years or 5 years. I knew that this was going to be my path from here on out as I lived my life on this planet. I knew that. So when you get ready to step into something that becomes a lifestyle, you take it a whole lot more seriously than if it was a hairstyle. Okay? And a lot of you are jumping into the lock journey as a hairstyle. You see it, oh, well, you know what? If it don't work out, I'll just go back to getting a relaxer, or I'll just go back to doing this and that and the other. And see, right then and there, you lose the seriousness of wearing dreads. You lose the spiritual elements of wearing dreads. You lose it. You lose the cultural effects of wearing dreads because you have decided once you get started that there's the window. I can easily jump out of it. There's the door. I can easily open it. You're not taking the dreadlock journey seriously. And that's why a lot of you are cutting your locks. There are some of you today who are deciding to cut your locks because you put in chemicals. You decided to bleach your hair, fry it to death. Okay, you've been using lock gels. You've been shampooing your hair with a shampoo that has 1,000 chemicals in it. You've been putting conditioner in your hair. Okay, and all of those things have weighed down your locks, made them heavy, filled them up with buildup. Okay, so now you have to turn to detoxing your hair every 6 weeks or so, which is putting additional stress on your locks. And so you're just fed up. You're like, I can't do this anymore. It's not working out for me. My hair just won't cooperate. The reason why your hair or your locks is not looking the way you would like them to is because you're doing absolutely too much. You're doing too much. You're listening to bad advice on the internet. You're not doing your research. You're not searching out locticians who know their stuff about locks. You're not searching them out. You're going to the wrong people for advice. You're going to the wrong people to lock and retwist your hair. So with that in mind, this is the reason why you are having issues with your locks. And now you want to cut them away, not knowing that all you have to do is stop in your tracks. Whatever it is that you're doing, stop immediately. Immediately. and heal thyself. How do I know that? How does Nell know this? Because I've been a lock diva for 23 years now. 23 years. And I have had to stop everything and give my locks a chance. Stop using the gels and the waxes and the spritz. Stop using all the shampoos and the conditioners. I broke it all the way down to 2 items in my arsenal. Dr. Bronner's peppermint soap and my own homemade hot oil treatment using essential and nut oils. That's it. There was a time where I didn't have any edges being a lock diva because I retwisted it to the gods. Okay? Retwisted it so much that my edges fell out. You could literally see my scalp. But then I realized, let me stop doing some of these things. Let me stop doing this. I began to do some more research. I found a few people on the internet who were on the same journey, who I trusted. And I listened and I learned something. And I was able to stop in my tracks what I was doing and reverse the damage and grow healthy locks. See, the thing is, you don't have to necessarily cut your locks off to ensure that you have really healthy hair. You don't have to cut all your locks off and start back down at the studs, at the rafter. You don't have to do that. You can just stop what you're doing, let your hair grow out, let it lock, and then cut away the damage. You don't have to cut all your hair off to do that. How do I know? Because I did it. I did it. But here's the thing. Understand that this is a journey. This is a lifestyle. This is not a hairstyle. And I really wish people would look at it like that. This is a lifestyle. It's not a hairstyle. This is who I am. If you can't see yourself on this journey in 20 years, perhaps you shouldn't be on it. You shouldn't take it. And another thing, do not start this journey because you have lock envy. Don't start this journey because someone else has done it and you like the way their locks look and you want to do it. And my best advice to anyone, before you get started, along with doing research, go ahead and go to your stylist and ask them to install you with faux locks. Wear some faux locks for 6 months to a year and see how you like it. And if you like it, then go ahead and try a set of starter locks. That's a great idea because that'll let you know whether or not this is something for you. But wearing locks is a huge responsibility. It's not something that should be gone into lightly. It really isn't. It's not a lifestyle where, like some people say, oh, I don't have to do anything. Because you still have to do something. You still have to eat right. You still need to eat your vegetables, your fruits, your berries, your nuts. Okay. You still need to drink tons of water. You need to get sunshine. And if you live in a place where the sunshine, like in the wintertime, the sunshine is not out, you need to take your vitamin D. Okay. If you're a person like myself, and you are a mature woman or mature king of a certain age, okay, then you also know that there are other things that you need to be doing because, as we become more mature, our hair begins to do certain things just like the rest of our body. So you know that there are certain extra vitamins that you need to include in your diet so that your locks can continue to remain radiant and strong and healthy. You know, there are many, many, many reasons why people cut away their locks. But the majority of the reasons are just, you know, they're really not good ones, besides the fact that it's your head and you can do what you want to do. You know, there's that too. But I do believe that at one point it was a trend to wear locks, and everybody jumped on the trend to wear locks. And I had noticed that even here on YouTube, I had noticed that there was like a plethora of videos of people starting locks, of people on their lock journey. And in the few years since, you know, the demand has waned a little bit, you know, but I still say that locks are just a wonderful, wonderful spiritual thing for me. It's a great journey. And if you have the fortitude, you have the knowledge, you have the spirit inclination, and it's within your purpose and you feel it, I say go for it. I really, really do. I say go for it. But know that it comes with a heavy, heavy responsibility. There's some things that you cannot do when you wear locks, such as bleaching your hair. Don't do it. I've done it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Adding all kinds of colors to your hair. Don't do it. If it's not all natural, don't do it. Don't do it. And don't be so hasty to cut your locks. Okay? Don't be such an rush. I was in a lock group, and someone said, a sister said that this was her 5th time cutting her locks. She had locks 5 different times, and this was her 5th time cutting her locks. I said, this is ridiculous. What do you mean this is your 5th time? And she said she's going to start her locks again next year. I just don't understand it. It makes absolutely no sense to me, because if your locks are damaged, there is a way that you can go ahead and save your locks. You don't have to cut away all your locks. I know, because what? I did it. So there is a way to remedy having to cut your locks. Do not let the scissors be your best friend, because don't begin your lock journey because you're envious of someone else. Modify your expectations. Do your research before you start a lock journey, and even when you are on the journey, find responsible, reliable resources that can help you and support you on your way. And your girl Nail is one of those resources. All right? So that's just a little video for the day. Thank you so much for watching Simply Nails Tiny Studio. I really appreciate you. I want to say hello and welcome to all the new subscribers. Please think about becoming a sustainable member, because I have a tiny studio lounge where I enter maybe about 3 times a month, and we have a good time over there. I talk about a lot of different things that I really don't share publicly, but I shared over in the tiny studio members only lounge. So consider being a members only. We don't have the jacket though. All right, I will see you soon. I will see you tomorrow, August the 5th, 2025. But this is your girl Nail. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.